Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true.
Marriage for him is like making mashed potatoes.
Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkling guiding through the deep, the light,
Let me ask you
the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view.
What's up, what it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly. Let somebody know we're on right now. I know it's a different night. I know you're used to me being on Monday nights, but Monday was a holiday, so I wasn't able to be on, but I'm on tonight. And if you would, I know I'm early too. I said I wasn't gonna get on till 9:30, but I couldn't wait. I'm be honest, I couldn't wait. I was ready to start right now. So I'm here, and you're here, and we're gonna have a conversation tonight. Let somebody know that the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkland, is on. And we're gonna groove for a minute. It ain't gonna be long though, because we got something to talk about. I got a question I'm gonna ask tonight, and hopefully you can help me with this question. How did divorce I got to send out one more request. We're going to get it started. There's no use in waiting. No use in waiting. Let me send out this last request, and then we're good. Hey, I'm early, y'all. I promise. I said I was going to start at 9:30. I'm tired. I'm not going to be up that late. If y'all will share this and let somebody know I'm on, we can go ahead and get this conversation started. Real talk.
We're stirring up the view. Intellectual stew.
Boom, there we go. What's up, what it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkland, aka the Mind Massager, and we are here on an impromptu night. This is not our normal night. Our normal night is Monday night. Our normal nights are Monday nights at 8 p.m. I said I was going to go live tonight at 9:30 p.m., but I got a case of the I can't help it, and I started early. So I started at 9 o'clock because I know if I got on at 9:30, I might be on to 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I don't want to be on till 10:30, 11 o'clock. So this is part one of a show that we're going to do entitled, How Did the Divorce Shape Your Faith? How did the divorce shape your faith? We're going to get into this conversation tonight, but before we do, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to share this thread. First of all, speak. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know where you are listening from. If you would do that, first of all, and then react, like, or heart, or share this thread, because if you share it, you get the algorithm started, and perhaps we can have a good conversation tonight. That's my goal. I want to have a good conversation. And listen, this is not, hear me and hear me well, this is not meant to be a monologue. This is meant to be a dialogue. All of our opinions matter because we all have our very real experiences, and all of our experiences are unique and they're individual. They have their own fingerprint because you went through what you went through, somebody else went through what they went through. But through it all, at the end of the day, the wonderful part about it is that we made it. We're still here. Might smell like smoke from fire, might even be a little wet from the water, because if you go through fires and floods, scripture teaches us that we mess around. What's up, Dion? We end up in a wealthy place, and the wealthy place has nothing to do with money. But it has all to do with a place of rich fulfillment. After the divorce, at some point, you have to heal, and I'm of the belief that when you heal in private, right? Because if you don't heal in private, then you have a tendency of bleeding publicly. And when you bleed publicly, you might send off unintended messages. And I believe and I believe because a lot of people have healed very publicly. What's up? Did I say hi, Dion Rose? If I didn't, I'm sorry. Um, because some people heal publicly, they have a tendency of bleeding publicly, and they end up putting mixed messages out or negative messages out. And we live in a society now that does not promote marriage. We live in a society now that's cool with let's shack it up. We can just, produce children together. We can co-parent. Somehow I end up hating my parent, my co-parent a few years later. I don't know how that ends up happening, how you can lay down, make a baby with somebody, but then hate them later. I mean, it's just these things are hate them, not him, them. But we just live in an interesting society, and I believe that marriage is under attack, and more specifically, I believe that Black families are under attack. So I am here tonight to share, because what I've done is I've taken a serious inventory of my personal life and my process over the last when did I get divorced? I got separated in 17, got divorced in 19, started this podcast around 19 or 20, and I've shared it publicly, and I'll share it again. When I first started this thing, I didn't want to go to therapy. I didn't want to tell anybody my business. I kind of brought it to the world, man. And part of me bringing it to the world was because I wasn't over her yet. Part of it at that time was hoping she would hear my heart, and we would be able to reconcile, but we didn't. And so I had to go through the process. I had to go through therapy. I had to heal, had to heal more than anything. And once I healed, I thought I should go back and share my story and use my platform not only to share my story, but hear other people's stories. And when I hear their stories, we can all share stories and pick up clues, pick up idiosyncrasies, learn a little bit about the other party in a amicable environment. This is a safe space. I don't deal with any type of arguing and bickering, because one thing about it is it's really, really hard to debate somebody's opinion. And I think it's very egocentric to try to debate somebody's experience, right? Because whatever a person's going through and they share that experience, that's their experience. You can call them whatever you want. You can say that they shouldn't have done this. You could say what you would have done different. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, because that's their experience. And we want to use their experience, or we want them to use their experience as a learning experience. And if they use it as a learning experience, then perhaps it can be a platform or a launching pad to get from where they are to the next relationship. And when they go into the next relationship, they don't bring the baggage from the past relationship, because they're healed, they've forgiven that individual, and they're moving on in a positive direction, right? Because the next person does not deserve what the ex person did, right? They don't deserve the wrath of the vitriol that you had. The next that doesn't deserve the vitriol that you had for the ex. So tonight, we're going to jump into this topic. How did the divorce shape your faith? And listen, this isn't just for people who've gone through divorce. This is for people who are married. Because in marriage, you want to learn. Don't ever stop the learning process. Learn what other people did. Learn what their mistakes were. Learn where you might start a trend or a path of going down the wrong road, or you could where you might need to course correct. You know, like you might see some signs that I share or that someone else shares, and you say, oh, you know what, let me make sure I don't fall in that trap, and that might help save you going forward. Now listen, I've asked you to do this before. Go ahead and like. I prefer you heart it, but you can like it. Go ahead and heart this post or this conversation tonight, and then share it, and then talk to me in the chat. And not only talk to me in the chat, but talk to each other. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this conversation started tonight. How did the divorce shape your faith? How did it? If it did, if in fact it shaped your faith, maybe you're bulletproof and it didn't affect you at all, right? You on your everything is great in your life, and you're on your way to heaven, and you're enjoying the trip, and everything is great, hunky-dory. I get it. But some people going through the divorce really shook their faith, right? It really shook their faith because most people came into marriage with one faith, but after going through a divorce, they came out with another type of faith. If we're honest, and most of us, if the truth be told, we have not said that out loud. And what I'm learning, Calvin, what I'm learning, Vakisa, what I'm learning now is that when people ask me questions, right, I don't try to respond real fast, right? It used to be a time I wanted to be quick. I wanted to get that answer out fast. But now when people ask me a question, what I try to do is I try to process that question. And then I try to flip it and I try to, back into it. Then I go because I really want to understand the question. So when I ask a question like, how did the divorce shape your faith? Most people are like, it didn't. Or the colloquial expression is that it drew me closer to God. Or what, it's always something good, especially when we're talking about faith. But if we're honest, did it initially draw you faith closer to God? Because it's easy to talk about what the end result was. It's easy to say that the end result, I went through the divorce and now I'm closer to God than I've ever been before. But what about the initial stages? Y'all talk to me tonight for a little while. Those that have gone through divorce. If you've not gone through a divorce, then maybe that's not divorce shaped my. Okay, let's see what Vakisa said. She said divorce shaped my faith by transforming it from simply verbalizing its application in my life. Okay. So now, okay, I can see that. I can see that. Because it's a faith. We can talk about faith, but a faith that has not been tested. Is this what you're saying, Vakisa? A faith that has not been tested is a faith that has not been trusted. It's hard to be trusted. And I can see that because most of us operate from a platform of a blind faith and we expect certain things to happen. Going into a divorce, going into a marriage, most people don't go into the marriage planning on divorce. And most times when we get into the marriage, we end up meeting somebody that we didn't even know who that individual was, right? They started showing us sides of them, and when we start meeting that individual over time, if we don't learn how to acclimate, grow together, yada, yada, all those things, or if changes don't occur, or we start to, I use the mashed potato analogy. If we don't start to congenialize and become where the two flesh become one, and we're steadily going in opposite directions, then eventually we will go in the other direction. And then when we go in the other direction, then it causes us to really have it can shatter our faith, especially when we had this conception of faith, right? That faith, faith is the evidence of things hoped for, and the faith is the substance of things hoped for, and evidence. All those verbalized things is related to faith. But then when I got to actually go through it, because now my promised land looks like a problem land. I know I am nothing but a preacher. I'm sorry. I apologize. So let me see what she said. Transforming from verbalizing the application. So now I got to really live that. I can see that. I can see that. Dion said divorce shook my faith to its core. How so? How so? And when you talk about shaking faith in what? Does it shake your faith in God? Does it cause you to not want to go to church? Does it cause you not to pray as much? Does it cause you not to read scripture as much? Does it cause you to become angry and shake your fist at God and say, I mean, what does that shaking of your faith look like? What does that shaking of your faith look like? Because I want us to understand something. That tonight is not a sermon. It's not a sermon. And I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm asking you what happened to what you used to believe when your marriage came apart. And you know what? Since I'm asking you, I'll go first. I'll go first. I'll go first. During in 2017, Dion, when we were going up, my ministry was going pretty good. I was preaching at a lot of churches around the city of Atlanta, around the state, even out of state. Kind of took a hiatus, if you will, not a hiatus. That's the word I'm going to use. But I started a church in 2009. Was it 2009? 411, 2000. No, 2004. 411, 2004. I started a church in Dalton, Georgia, Bridging the Gap Ministries. And my son at that time was very young. He might have been 4 or 5, somewhere around that range. But as we got older, Trey got good at baseball. He got really good at baseball. And baseball is a weekend sport. We practice during the week, and then we have baseball tournaments on the weekend. So weekends consist of Sundays as well. Now, back up a little bit. In the marriage, I started preaching at 21 years old, and my only dream was to pastor a church. Me and my ex, that's what we used to talk about. One day pastoring the church, one day pastoring the church, one day pastoring the church. So didn't ever get voted in. It came in second several times. Started my own church. Church was small, but I preached every Sunday, and it was meaningful. We made some impactful moves in the city of Dalton. We used to have an event called Praise in the Park that from year one was 75 people. By year 4, we had over 1,000 people coming through the park. So we were a small ministry, but we were an impactful ministry. But in 2009, I want to say, how would it have been? Yeah, 2000, Trey born at 98. About 2008, 2009, he got really good at baseball. And I wanted to be at those games. So eventually I hired somebody to take over my church so that I could be on the baseball field. Now, imagine this. That's my ministry, right? That's like giving up my right arm, but this is my son. And I got to make sure he's treated fairly on the baseball field, because a lot of us during that time, when I say us, some of y'all know what that means, they're not treated fairly. And just sometimes the presence is powerful, just showing up. And I had to be there, because if I wasn't there, half the time I was looking at my phone trying to see what he was doing in the game anyway. So I ended up walking away from my church. Now, I still took preaching engagements, preached whenever I was invited, but I wasn't there as much. So, but I still had this dream of pastoring a church. I had this dream of pastoring a church. Fast forward to 2017, I've been preaching at this one particular church. I won't say the name, in Atlanta, quite often. I preached there quite often. And when the pastor got ready to retire, I got a phone call from him one night saying that I was a finalist and that I would be getting a phone call. Phone call never came. This was 2017. Same year I got separated. Then I applied for a church in Arkansas. Went in, was told I was a finalist, but at the end, didn't end up getting that one. Didn't get, so that was another disappointment in 2017. Then had another church, man, that was here in the state of Georgia. I made the finalist. The first time I went to that church, my ex went with me. She introduced me. Church loved her. But we ended up getting separated. I called the church, told them, hey, I'm about to get separated. Y'all might not want to consider me. They said, don't worry about it. You good. So anyway, come down to the last vote, lose by 9 votes. All of this in 2017. Not to mention I got to go through a separation. Not to mention I got to go through a readjustment of not living in a 4-bedroom house, but now I'm living in a 1-bedroom house. Now, not to mention that the silence sounds like noise because the girls aren't upstairs. The dog isn't barking. I don't have anybody. I've been used to a warm body laying beside me for the last 20 years. Now I got to lay in a bed by myself. So this was a tough time. And not to mention I'm doing this all alone. And all of a sudden I start going through all of the stages of grief. I'm going through it. I feel the shame. I don't want the people at the church to know. I'm thinking about future Thanksgivings and future Christmases and all of these things. And the question comes, God, why did you let this happen? Now, old folk will say you can't make me doubt him because I know too much about him. But I mean, if I'm honest, now my relationship is solid with him. I can lay hands on the sick, they recover. I love the Lord. He heard my cry. We're good. Don't get me wrong. But in that moment, I questioned God. I said, Lord, really? You're not going to save me from this one? You know the things I used to do, I don't do no more, but I did them. And honestly, because of the shame, because of me, the disappointment, because of me feeling like I failed, because failure was my diet. I mean, I was heavy on failure, man. I thought I had messed up so bad. So when we start, so when I say that my relationship became stronger, yeah, that's the product. But before I get to the product, I got to at least talk about the process. And so when I ask you a question, like, how did the divorce shape your faith? Listen, when you put Play-Doh or clay in your hand, the shaping of the clay is not an instant process. Dion said, I stepped back from church. He said, praying, tithing, and you know personally how active I was in church. I thought I was justified being angry with God for not saving the marriage. Wow. He said, I thought I was justified for being angry with God because he didn't save the marriage. What happens when you pray, but the answer that you were seeking is not the answer that you receive? That's a tough pill to swallow. And that's just one perspective. And so when you look at that, you talk about how it shaped your faith, Dion. So what was the process that made you finally come to grips with the situation? And you said, hey, God, not my will, but your will be done. When at what point? Because this is part one. I'm not going to be on long tonight. We're gonna hit this and quit it tonight, because tomorrow, Monday night, we'll do a full show, because that's my normal night, Monday nights. But we're talking about this. How somebody else tell the truth. How did the divorce that you went through, how did it shape your faith? Imagine that 7 times I came in second. And part of our vision was to pastor together. Man, I had a dream. I thought I was going to be Dion. I thought I was going to be flying across the country. I thought I preached well enough, to do revivals and to do all those things. But I kept coming in second. And then even if I made a mistake, I would bargain with God. I would say stuff like, I know people doing a whole lot worse. Now, I didn't snitch. I didn't call names and say, I know who's doing this or doing none of that. But he knew, because he's omniscient. But I would say, I know people doing a whole lot worse than the things that I do. But it seems like he was blocking everything. And then the climax, the culmination was in 2017, when I literally had 3 opportunities. And these weren't small churches, especially the one in Arkansas was probably kind of small compared to the ones in Atlanta. And I mean, well, one in Atlanta and one in another city, and it's another city. I'm just not gonna say. I'm not gonna say, because they could be listening, and if they're listening, that's fine. But that was a tough field, and I thought he did it because he was mad at me. I thought that I had fallen so far and had messed up so bad that I was no longer worthy of grace. Let me see what Vakisa said. I don't know what I believe, the words I spoke, but when I was alone and all I had was the word, and there is where I learned to lean not to my own understanding. That is one of the most difficult lessons I've had to learn. Okay, so your faith was shaped. Because and like I said, like because I saw other people saying today, I'm closer to God. Yeah, I know that now. And I want and I want and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for my now. I really am. But I'm not just talking because everybody loves to advertise, the beautiful things, the wonderful things. But one thing that I really admired about Jesus on the road to Emmaus, when Thomas tried to issue Jesus a challenge, he said something like, I'm not gonna believe unless I see the scars. And see, that's the thing about a lot of people, because all of us want to paint, the pretty part of marriage and the wonderful part of marriage and all those, but very few of us want to show the scars. But the scars, if we're honest, the scars have their own stories, and the scars are worthy of testimonies, right? Those scars have a purpose. And when we really understand the purpose in the scars, then it's easier to see this. The great thing about scars, Vakisa, the great thing about scars, Dion, is that scars used to be scabs, which used to be sores. The significant part about a scar is that there's usually no pain associated with the scar when it used to be a sore, right? Because that's evidence that healing is taking place. But it's not only evidence that healing has taken place, but it's also evidence that something has taken place. And your scars, true enough, they have their own testimony. They're indicative of the reality that something has taken place. But if we're honest, if it's really a scar, then it shouldn't hurt anymore. It really shouldn't it really shouldn't keep you up anymore. I got a scar right here. This scar has been here for 25 years. And it's still there. But there's no pain. There's no sensation in the scar. I got a few more scars on my body. I have scars from my childhood that are still on my body. I can remember what happened on that day. But the thing is, there's no pain associated with the scar because I've number one, I've outlived it. And that's where some of us are. We've had some situations in our marriages, going through our divorces, that really shook our faith. But one thing we learned is that as we kept on living, as Vakisa just said, when I found myself alone and I didn't have anything left but the word, when I started reading the word and it was real dark, but then I read that he was a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my pathway, guess what? Now the word becomes flesh. That's what Jesus said in John 14:1. The word becomes flesh and dwells among. It makes sense now. The word becomes life because I had to go through what I was going through while I was groaning. And while I was groaning through it, I ended up growing to where God needed me to be. We can heal. We can heal if we're willing to go through the process. But so many of us love to go while we're going through stuff like this. We love to become what I call. I used to hear Dr. Bishop Oliver say this. He would say that a lot of us are practitioners of self-deception. What does that mean? We lie to ourselves. We let people talk us into going when we really should have stayed. We expose ourselves to things that we shouldn't expose ourselves to until we've healed. I was at work the other day and I was taking this license plate off, and she had a license plate bracket, and I was trying to pull the license plate out, and the license plate snapped down on my finger and cut it. And when I say cut it, I could feel it cut. I knew the blood was coming, and I'm still trying to help her. But first thing I did when I saw the cut is I went and found some peroxide. Why did I get peroxide? Because y'all help me. I was trying to clean the infection out. That's what I was trying to do. So once I put the peroxide on it and cleaned the infection out, next thing I did was I put some triple antibiotic cream on it, and then I kind of rubbed it on there, to kind of stop the blood, but also, to start working on the skin. Then I took a Band-Aid and I wrapped it around it. Now, why did I wrap the Band-Aid around it? Because this open sore, It looks better, a lot better now. If I didn't cover it up, it could be exposed to germs and become infected. Listen, when we come out of relationships that break us, that hurt us, when we come out of relationships that break us down, things of that nature, then what we need to do in that instance is we need to heal first. We can't expose ourselves too much. Hold on 1 second. Give me a quick commercial. I gotta go open the door right quick. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna give you a quick commercial. Give me a quick commercial.
Oh, we're cooking something true. Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light, the old, the new intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring
All
up
right.
the view.
All right, I'm back. So, sorry about that. I had a little yeah, never mind. Sorry about that. But anyway, so my point is after that, that hurting feeling, when you initially go through it, the initial pain, all that kind of stuff, typically what you do is you go somewhere, sit down, heal, because if you don't and you're exposed to the elements too soon, you stand the potential of becoming infected. Right now, they're talking about the United States is on the verge of the world is on the verge of this big Ebola breakout that can be one of the biggest breakouts in history in the Ebola breakout, right? And with this Ebola breakout, as it spreads, you got cases in Congo, and people that visited Congo, they go to another country and then another country, and then next thing you know, you got these people that are infecting other people. That's what we do in marriage. When we come out and we go through a divorce and we haven't healed, but then we start sharing our experiences and talking negative about marriage. And when you and not on, this is the thing, and I'm going to close because I wasn't going to be on long tonight for real. But when we talk about shaping our faith, do you realize that sometimes we end up shaping other people's faith the same way? And we end up shaping their faith in a negative way because we've talked about marriage. Now you got other people, because you talk so bad about marriage. Now, guess what? They don't even want to get married. That's crazy. Let me read Vakisa's comment. She said, I got what I asked for, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. I was hot and mad with God. So I learned to speak all these words, but didn't really know what it meant. That's good. That's real good, Vakisa. That's real, real good. I appreciate your transparency on that. I appreciate your transparency on that. I appreciate that. All right. So this is like I said, I wasn't gonna be on long tonight for real. Because I gotta go to work tomorrow. So when somebody asks me something like how the divorce shaped my faith, this is my answer. My answer is my faith is intact. I still believe. I still pray every day. I talk to God. I don't sit down every day with the book, but I quote scripture literally like every day. I mean, I make it applicable at work, with customers, on the podcast, whatever. I make it applicable. So I don't sit down with the book like I used to, but it's in me. I quote it, I draw on it, I carry it. The form is different, but the faith is real because the faith is lived. And the reason the faith is lived because of the things that I've survived. And I realized that there's no way I could have survived the seasons of my life that I've survived if it had not been for the Son. So the faith is real, but the version of the calling I was supposed to be living, that's it. That's change. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because where he leads, I'm going to follow. Now, listen, it's been real. I just wanted to come on and give y'all a quick little preview, a precursor of the show that we're going to be doing on Monday night. Monday night at 8 p.m. I hope to have some guests on. Listen, if you want to be a guest on, reach out, go to the podcast.theintellectualstew. Go down to the bottom of the page and you can ask a request to be a guest. And also check out the divorceresetsystem.com. We're working on something over there as well. All right. So it's been real. It's been cool. I'm out. But remember this, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same?
Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true.
Marriage for him is like making mashed potatoes.
Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light,
Let me ask you
the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view.